Cheers.
Cheers.
Mr. Dixon, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So, Dr. Michael Dixon? Or should I just call you Doctor?
Just call me Mike.
Okay, Mike, that'll work. So, Mike, if you want to just kind of give an introduction, bio, your background, and what are you doing here in Israel?
Well, I'm a professor in the Environmental Sciences School at the University of Guelph in Canada, and I'm the director of the Controlled Environment Systems Research Facility there. And that is a research facility that is founded on with the technical challenge of creating the solutions to growing food in space.
In space?
For life support applications. So plants in space, going to Mars and supporting long-term human space exploration activities there.
Yeah.
You can't resupply Mars with food indefinitely, so we have to have some sort of bioregenerative, self-sustaining life support system, and that's green plants. So this program has been operating in Guelph now for the last 25 years.
Wow.
It's among the world's leading research venues now for research and technology development in that little niche field of biological life support, plants in space. So that technical challenge has the same application in harsh environments on Earth. So food security in the north, for example, is among the areas that we study. We've had projects in the high Arctic, in greenhouses, and on Devon Island. We've got a project running currently in the Antarctic in collaboration with the German Space Agency.
You're connected with NASA.
We have a research collaboration agreement with NASA since 1999. We're a partner with the European Space Agency's life support program called Melissa since 1997. So we're kind of the usual suspects, if you will.
And you're doing this Antarctica project with the Russians?
No, with the Germans.
Oh, sorry, with the Germans.
Actually, the Germans, the Belgians. There's a long list of players in the European Union Horizon 2020 projects called Eden ISS. So we have a food production system set up in a snowbank in Antarctica in connection with the German research station called Neumayer 3. So that project, Eden ISS, is due to wrap up this coming spring, and there's a crew member there from our team still there.
Living
on
off
his
the food?
Well, not necessarily. He's running the greenhouse, if you will.
The
little biosystem, and using the perishable produce that he produces there to support the menu of the crew of Neumayer 3, the research station. So all of that technology and the challenge of developing solutions to growing food in harsh environments has yielded technical solutions that are immensely applicable in growing cannabis.
Yes.
And the issue here, if you've been listening to any of the talks, the big issue is standardization.
Absolutely.
It yields, the lack of standardization yields these huge error bars in the variability of applications, even in clinical trials, when they can finally get them, and there's so few of them. So there's a long road to go in terms of research and technology development and clinical trials with humans. But our technology from space, of all things, can very significantly enhance the issue of standardization. Because standardization, the environment control yields the photochemistry that creates the secondary metabolites for color and taste and medical compounds. So the profile of medical compounds, all the cannabinoids, and there's over 100 of them, and the terpenes and flavonoids. We have no idea what combination of these yields the medical benefit. And we're struggling to achieve a definitive answer to these, because you grow a plant in February, same strain, and then in August it creates a different medicine. Its application doesn't work anymore.
The compounds are different from crop to crop.
The profile,
right?
that entourage effect that Meshulam refers to, is modified somehow, and it's a product of the environment. So you've got the genetics and breeding, which is an important element. You've got the production, the horticultural management, and then the curing and drying phases. And hopefully you can standardize the curing and drying. It's standardizing the environment control recipe that creates the plant that has the standard profile of medical compounds. That's the critical issue. So I kind of win here.
Yeah.
I can give me any genetics, and I can turn them on their ear in terms of the profile of medical compounds, and make it vary all over the map so that the application of that plant will be completely different one day than it is the next. So standardizing the plant and its production of profiles of medical compounds is the key to reducing the variability in the applications in the clinical trials.
Yeah, and so in your specific controlled environment format of farming, it's indoors.
Yes.
It's completely artificial light.
Absolutely.
And you control every variable perfectly, is what you're saying, I believe. And so it's from within the same plant, you can have the light settings at low intensity and a little bit of oxygen and CO2 and a different nutrient profile, and do one crop, and on the next crop you can ramp up the light to 20 times.
If that's required, yeah.
And it's essentially a completely different plant. You change the variables and the compounds, even though it's the same, even if it came from the same cutting, same strain.
You can play a tune with its expression of secondary metabolites.
Yeah.
And secondary metabolites is the key here. Those are the compounds we're talking about. THC, CBD, all the flavonoids and terpenes that comprise the entourage effect of medical cannabis are secondary metabolites. Photochemistry determines them, and we can play a tune with that. Now, you have to be careful. You start messing with the photosynthetic energy source.
Yeah.
And we do this with with an array of LEDs of various spectra. So we've got 10 different colors, and I play a tune with that, and I create a certain spectral quality of light, and that induces a certain physiological response and photochemistry response in the plant. But you know what? You start messing with that, you change the way the plant eats.
Yeah.
So you have to combine your assessment and appreciation for photosynthetic energy and nutrition.
Yeah.
So the plant eats potassium, nitrate, and phosphorus differently if you give it a different light quality, and then the light intensity as well. And then you're messing with light. That's the energy source for photosynthesis.
Yeah.
And CO2 is what the plant is eating in the aerial environment.
Yeah.
So the key is to homogenize CO2, temperature, and humidity in the aerial environment. We solved that years ago in the space program, because I got to have that, and it's really
it's not one thing. It's everything.
It's the concert all the time, and the plant responds all the time to all the environment variables. You can't turn one off and say I'm winning.
So if you cranked up the light and it all of a sudden the plant needed more nutrients and more CO2, but it wasn't there because it was trying to use all that light energy,
then you mess it up.
You might kill the plant or make it not.
There's lots of ways to do this wrong, and I've got
very few ways to do it right.
Such a rich list of what not to do.
Not to do. I can relate to that.
Over the last 25 years in the space program applications, we break stuff routinely.
Yeah.
But we've come to a place now where we're pretty good with controlled environment technology. In Canada, for crying out loud. You want to grow a plant for 6 months of the year? You got to be in a pretty serious.
Do we have 6 months? I thought it was 2. Oh, I'm in Edmonton.
No. But
this year we had 2.
For at least part of the year, you must have a controlled environment. So we've pursued, some pretty high fidelity controlled environment solutions to food and ornamental, and now phytopharmaceutical applications. Yeah. So, and it's not just cannabis. The whole phytopharmaceutical industry sector has to approach its production of medicines from plants in exactly this manner, or those medicines will never achieve the lofty status of a conventional pharmaceutical commodity.
Yeah. So in phytopharmaceutical is plant medicine, essentially. That's what cannabis is.
We're growing cancer drugs in tobacco plants. Just for the sheer irony of it, I suspect.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
that is major irony.
That's another, phytopharmaceutical project in our program.
Wow. Oh, so you're literally researching. You're growing a tobacco plant, and there's some compounds in this tobacco plant.
We collaborate with a company called Plantform, which is a spin-off from the University of Guelph, colleague of mine, and they have developed a process where they attach a protein, the protein for a cancer drug, Herceptin, which is a very common breast cancer drug. They attach that protein to an agrobacterium. So you've got this soup. It looks like a urine-colored soup, basically, which has this agrobacterium in it. And you plunge the leaves of the young plant, quite large leaves on this tobacco plant, into this soup, and you vacuum infiltrate. So you pull a vacuum on that solution.
Wow.
And that sucks the agrobacterium carrying the protein into the leaves of the plant. And then you take it out, shake it off, and then that's where I take over with controlled environment. Coming up with the right light quality and quantity and CO2, temperature, humidity, nutrients, and water that push process that plant as a factory to reproduce the protein. And then 7 days we grow it, and you harvest the biomass and extract the drug. And it's a far more economical and ultimately more reliable way to produce a very high quality cancer drug in this case.
You're growing. And that's one of the major value propositions of cannabis as well. It's that we're growing the drugs. We're mass producing the compounds we're after with nature essentially.
But what the medical community is demanding. And not appreciating the technical challenge that they impose on the production industry in this demand is they need to be able to be, it has to be a reliable product. It has to be the same.
Consistent.
When a physician prescribes a dose and a source for a specific array of medical compounds, that is the medicine, the entourage effect of all of these compounds. It has to be the same. And today, that is not possible. There is you can't grow true medical cannabis that would achieve that reliable status of conventional pharmaceutical commodity. You can't grow it in a greenhouse.
It's not
you
identical.
Can't grow it in a field.
It's a plant.
Because it's different. The environment changes every day, every hour. So I can provide, with the technology that we've developed over the last 20, 30 years in the space program, I can provide that assurance of a standardized profile of medical compounds that then can yield the applications and allow you to do clinical trials with some reliability that what you're using is the real deal.
That's amazing. So what got you into this? How did you end up in
total
Guelph?
Serendipity? I got to Guelph. That's a long story. I was at Edinburgh as a PhD student. I was at Toronto, University of Toronto, as a postdoc. And then I got an NSERC University Research Fellowship back in the mid-'80s.
Oh, you got an NSERC grant. So there's a plug for you, NSERC. This is an NSERC success story. We just turned this into a federal government story. That's wonderful.
There you go. Yeah. So that created a faculty position for me. I went to Guelph.
Yeah. And what was that for? What was that initial
that
NSERC
was
grant
in,
for?
You know what? I can't remember. Well, it was plant-water relations.
Relations?
That was my field.
Okay.
And I developed technology that I since commercialized, technology for measuring plant water stress.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And I've licensed it with some companies in Australia. So that's a long story, but nevertheless.
That was your entry into the plant
yeah.
biology
And then I got
world.
into greenhouse.
Okay.
Controlled environment agriculture.
Yeah.
Built the first computer automated environment controlled greenhouse in Guelph back in the late 80s.
Really?
And you know, got into the greenhouse sector. And but the cannabis story just about 5 or 6 years ago, Ken Clement from then Abcan, it's now called Vivo Cannabis.
Yeah.
Ken Clement stumbled on me in a trade show run by the Ontario Centres of Excellence.
Yeah.
And that's their discovery thing every spring that they have down in the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. And he stumbled upon, heard me talking about controlled environments and space exploration and all that stuff. And he said, hey, he seems to know something I need to know. He was wanting to invest in a similar controlled environment because he got it about the standardization issue. So he slowly but surely wormed into my research program, invested in it. We had a long-term, in fact, it's still operating, a long-term research contract with his company.
Wow.
He is long gone from his company.
Oh,
now.
He is, yeah. He did an exit?
Yeah, well, something like that. But he's still, we still play.
Yeah.
So, I hope to re-engage with that sector of the industry again. But we still maintain that relationship with the original company and their subsidiaries. And they continue to support the research. And until I get my own research venue at Guelph, that's the only way I can do research on cannabis.
Yeah,
is to go to somebody who's got a license and
work
operate under their wing.
So so you've been designing research contracts with your clients.
Yes.
So just quickly to finish up here, Dr. Dixon, and I do really appreciate your time. What does cannabis mean to you personally?
Well, I'm a kid of the 60s and 70s. Just think about it. And,
so you're like, finally. And we've got a big day tomorrow. Tomorrow we legalize.
It is tomorrow, isn't it?
That's tomorrow, yeah.
Oh,
We're going to be in Israel celebrating from here.
There you go. No, I mean, it's a long time coming. Yeah. It's a natural sidestep for me in terms of technology transfer and supporting an element of the agricultural sector that is a newfound world of economic engine for the agriculture sectors in Canada. I think it's great. I think the federal government got most of it right so far. Yeah. It's a little bit of cart before the horse. I mean, stuff that I'm doing should have been happening before we dove headlong into legal system.
Yeah, we should have started in the 60s like they did here in Israel.
Whatever,
right?
I think, but at least we're moving. At least it's going, and we'll catch up to each other eventually. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll keep our sense of humor, and all will be well.
Well, if there's one thing Canadians, we've got a pretty good sense of humor.
We try. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure
My
to talk
pleasure.
with you.
All right.